Alright, so now let's add in our other planets. So unlike the Sun and the Earth, we're going to instantiate them and we're going to change them based on random parameters. So we're going to have a min and a max scale, and we're going to pick a value between that. So let's start the default spacing at, I think 3, because that's how far away our Earth is. So let's try that. So we're going to run through a while loop, and we're going to keep doing it until we have planets that are at the max distance. So while the current spacing is less than the max spacing, we're going to keep adding planets. Okay, so first let's add that planet. So that's just the base class that we can add on to. Okay, so we want its scale to be random, so let's make that. So scale is a vector 3, so let's do new vector 3. Not new, we'll just do vector 3. Random scale equals... Okay, so these are going to be a range. So we're going to first pick what that range is, or what the random value, sorry. So float value equals, so that's going to be a range between the min and the max scale. So the planet min scale and planet max scale. Okay, so then we're just going to write that 3 times in the vector. Don't want any weird shaped planets. Okay, and then we will instantiate the object. Okay, so we're going to take our planet prefab as our kind of starting point. And then we want to go up by the scale plus the buffer. So we already have that stored as a value, so let's use that. So that'll be how far up the Y we go. Actually, sorry, I think instead we are going to use the current spacing. Yeah, we're going to add the current spacing to that random value. So let's do that right here. And we're also going to want to add that buffer, so that little extra space between the planets. So the planet spacing buffer. Okay, so that should pick a random scale, which we're going to scale it up later. It's going to set it to a vector 3. And then we're going to add, so the current spacing is going to go up a little, so it marks where we are. So we're that random value as a scale, plus the buffer. Okay, so let's add it at 0, current spacing, 0, and then no rotation gain. Okay. I think I got all my brackets, yeah. Okay, so now that we have the planet, let's actually scale it up. Okay, so that is just going to equal that vector there that we set. So we're just going to grab that and put it here. Okay. And then what else do we have to do here? Let's add it to the list. I think we're still missing something. Ah, yes, the orbit speed. So we are going to want to create a range up here as well. So this way we can just kind of play around with it in the inspector rather than setting it down below there. It's fine for Earth because Earth and the Sun, well, the Sun isn't orbiting at all, and the Earth is just it's just one planet. But these ones are all going to be different, so let's make a range equals, and then we'll just pick between those values. Okay, so we've added the planets, we picked a random scale, set that scale to a vector. So we incremented the spacing, so that way it should break out of the while loop eventually. So the planet object is equal to the planet prefab, and it's going to start at that current spacing, no rotation. We're going to actually scale up the object itself to that vector 3 scale. We're going to pick a random orbit speed, and then we're going to add it to the list. Okay. So that should work. Let's go in the inspector here. So first we want to actually set some values. So let's make the minimum scale is 1. Maximum scale will be, let's make it a little bigger, 5. Let's just put a 1 buffer between them. So the max spacing, how far out do we want to go? Let's say 100. So if each of them is scaling between 1 and 5, we'll have a fair amount of planets. The orbit speed, let's just do 1 and 3. We haven't hooked that up yet, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, and we need our planet prefab. So let's add in a new sphere, because we don't want this one to have a material yet. So we're just going to do that as planet, and we'll just drag and drop it down here. Delete that from there, and let's run it. Oh, forgot to add it. Whoops. Okay, now let's try it. Okay, so we got our sun. Need to make that sun bigger. Our Earth, and we got 2 planets. I think I messed up my scale. That's probably up near 100. Why did it not do that? Because we should have more planets, right? It only went 1, 2. And as you can see, that planet is up here at 12 on the Y. So let's take a look at the variables here. Ah, I put in 10 rather than 100. That would do it. There we go. Now it goes right up. So we got a whole bunch of planets. None of them should be touching. Oh, there's one touching. Okay. So why is that planet touching? Spacing buffer is 1. Let's set that just a little higher. There we go. Nice list of planets.